Let's talk about the most active revolutionary leftist paramilitary group in the United States during the 1970s. This group was called the New World Liberation Front, or NWLF for short. It was primarily active in the San Francisco Bay Area of California, but was also connected to attacks in Seattle. It espoused a Marxist ideology heavily influenced by Maoism. The group originated as an offshoot of the infamous Symbionese Liberation Army, the group responsible for the kidnapping of Patty Hearst. It was actually the name taken by the group after six of its members died in a shootout with police in Los Angeles in 1974. The SLA established the group to be a broad front of left wing militants, aiming to unite the paramilitary left under one banner and inviting others to claim attacks in the NWLF name. An obscure militant group named Americans for Justice answered the call and began carrying out attacks as the NWLF on August 5, 1974. From that point on, the NWLF became an independent organization, and various combat units began popping up, claiming responsibility for bombings across the Bay Area. NWLF bombs were going off on average every 2 weeks, and the group would ultimately be held responsible for around 80 attacks. These targeted anything from electrical substations to the homes of San Francisco city politicians and landlords. During its existence, the group established an above ground support network that would release its communiques and published a journal called the Urban Guerrilla. It had two spokesmen, neither of whom were part of the group. The first was a convicted drug dealer named Jack Rogers, and the other was a lawyer named Tony Serra. Despite its best efforts, law enforcement was unable to capture any of the group's members. In fact, the organization simply disappeared in the spring of 1978. However, there are some clues to who was behind the group, or at least its central command. If you remember the earlier Americans for Justice group, they were made up of two members, Ron Huffman and his girlfriend Maureen Minton. These two, and possibly a small number of associates, were likely the NWLF Central Command. Fingerprints would eventually link them to many of the bombings, but that would not be until a wild twist. Around the time of the end of the NWLF campaign, Huffman began to go crazy. He eventually suspected that Minton was possessed by demons, and in September 1979 murdered her with an axe. He would be arrested, and through the course of the trial, his association with the NWLF would be revealed. He ended up being convicted of the murder and several of the attacks claimed by the group. Huffman died in prison in 1999, and with him the story of the NWLF. While he and Minton were held responsible for some of the attacks, many more remain unsolved to this day, and it is likely that the mystery of the New World Liberation Front will continue on. If you found this interesting, follow for more stories of America's underground.